everybody, today we're going to tell you how to do the Starburst. As you can see, I have two already made. What we're going to do is, you see how it has that peekaboo effect to it. I'm going to actually walk you through the steps step by step. This is a beginner video, and I hope it helps everybody out how to do the Starburst peekaboo effect. Let's get started. Okay, let's get started. First, you're going to cast on as normal. Go under, around, under, around, around, under, around, under, around, under, all the way through. Usually when I get halfway through, we are going to reset our counter. Our cast on row is not our first row. Cast on row is not considered a row. Okay. Once we get all the way casted on, what I'm going to do is put it in my yarn and my feeder, and I'm going to do 5 complete rows. One, this is 2, 3, 4, and 5. Sorry guys, I don't have my machine bolted down just to make it easier view for you. All right, so we are on the row 6. We are just starting row 6. I'm going to take my yarn out of the feeder, and I'm going to wrap pins 1 and 2. I'm going around the back, coming up through the front and around, and then making sure I hook it. There is that hook on there. So I'm going to wrap 2 right there. Wraps 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, and so forth. We're going to do that the whole complete row. You should end up with wrapping pins 45 and 46, which is going to be your last 2 white pins. Wrapping 2, wrapping 2. Keep going around, wrapping 2, wrapping 2, wrapping 2. And this is going to be a 4-row repeat. So this is row 1 of the 4-row repeat. Wrapping 2. All right, so we're going to wrap our last 2 pins right here. This is 45 and 46. And we're going to continue that for 1 more row. Wrapping 2. Wrapping 2. This one you're going to actually have to watch for tuck stitches. When you're doing these, you should always have the yarn on the outside. If you guys can see, there's a little yarn on the outside of these pegs. That's exactly what you want to make sure. So keep in mind when you're doing these patterns, you want to make sure that that is out there, and so it's not being tucked. Wrapping 2 all the way around. For rows 1 and 2 is same exact, so there's no regular knitting. It is all going to be wrapping 2. Wrapping 2. Sorry again, I do not have my my machine bolted down. Wrapping 2. Wrapping 2. Wrapping 2. Wrapping 2. Wrapping 2. And we're coming up on the end of row 2 of the 4-row repeat. Okay, last one. All right, so row 8, I'm sorry, yes, row 8, you're going to put it in your feeder. As you guys can see, that's my very first black pin. What we're going to do is now we're going to knit. So there it is, row changes. So we're going to go slow with, as you can see, we did have a tuck stitch. Actually, it's a great time to show you guys. I'm going to bring the camera down. So this is actually prime example. So if you guys can see, this one actually does have the blue right here. This one does not. It's actually tucked. What I'm going to do is I'm going to back it up just a little bit, And then the one that has the yarn, sorry, right here coming through from the feeder to the pin, you want to make sure that that one is underneath, but the one behind it, so I'm going to move this out of the way so you guys can see. So you see how this one is going up instead of being pushed down? All we're going to do is just kind of push it down and maneuver it down. That's the way we want it seated. Now I'm going to put this one in the very front. Make sure it goes underneath that catch. And then we're going to continue, as you guys can see. So now we have yarn in the front. So this is row 3 of the 4-row repeat. And as you guys see, we want to go really slow with these, making sure that it does not tuck any stitches. All right, so that is row 3. So now we are going to do row 4 the same exact way. Same exact knitting. You still want to make sure you guys don't have any tucked or drop stitches. And we're going to continue all the way down, continue going slow. Good thing about with these, if you guys do have knitting machine weights, I would definitely use them. A lot of people use chip clips as the weights. I have flatbed knitting machine weights. I'm going to do one more set before I put those on, so I'm going to be really, really cautious and watch. All right, so this is going to be back to row 1 of the 4-row repeat. We are just finishing up row 10. As you can see, it's going to turn to 11, so we're going to wrap pins 1 and 2. 3 and 4, 5 and 6. And we're going to do this for 2 complete rows. 2 complete rows. Wrap them. I hope that's a better view for you guys. Sorry, I do not have my machine bolted down. It's going to struggle a little bit. Wrap in 2, wrap in 2, wrap in 2. We're still wrapping. This is row 1 of the 4-row repeat. And technically, you can do as many sets as you want with these ones. There's so many different options. What I would suggest is I've done them 7 sets of these for adults, and it does have a bigger brim. I've done also 9 sets of these 4-row repeats with a smaller brim, and they turned out great. All right, so that was the end of row 1. Now we're going to go row 2, doing the same exact thing. Wrap in 2, wrap in 2, wrap in 2, wrap in 2. You don't want to go too fast, because these ones always, you know, like I said, they tend to drop stitches. So wrap in 2, wrap in 2. So we're also making sure that they have yarn on the outside right there. Wrap in 2, wrap in 2, wrap in 2. Go as slow as you want, making sure that it goes underneath both of those little hooks. So if you see the pins, they have little hooks. Make sure you go underneath those every single time. Go as fast as you want, go as slow as you want. But I promise you it's going to turn out absolutely, absolutely adorable. So this is row 2 of 4. And I'm going to show you guys another way to learn how to count. All right, so we're coming up the last of that one. So if you guys see, like if you have to stop and you go somewhere and you can't remember which one you did next, I'm actually going to show you. So there's going to be a great way to do this. So if you guys can see this one, so we have the 2 long ones right here. That is set 1. You should have 2 long ones right here. That's going to be set 2. So if you forget how many sets you did, it's always easier to count the very long ones. And then also, if you can't remember how many you did of the wrap 2, you would actually look, do I have another long one? So I do have another long one. That means I did 2 sets. Just a little gee whiz. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go on to set 3. Open up our feeder, put our yarn in, and then like I said, this one you're going to want to go slower. You're going to watch for those tuck stitches. There we go. So far so good. Like I said, this is row 3 of the 4-row repeat. First 2 rows are wrap 2. Rows 3 and 4, this is 4th, is just going to be regular knit. We're just going to go slow on both of those. Making sure we don't have any tuck stitching. All right, so we're going back and we are going to start that all over again. So wrap 2. And I will probably speed this video up, that way you guys can catch on. It's the same exact thing, 4-row repeat. You can do as many sets as you want. I like for a beanie anywhere in between 7 to 9, depending on how big you want that brim. And I'll show you different options at the end. And we'll actually do it in the beginning. So we're wrapping 2 for 2 complete rows. I don't know if you guys heard my dog in the background. Okay, that's row 1. We are starting row 2. Same exact thing. Making sure we don't have any tuck stitching. That's the end of row 2. Put in our feeder. And we are going to knit 2 complete rows, making sure we don't have any drop stitches or tuck stitches. Okay, row 3 is done. We're moving to 4. Moving on, back again, row 1, wrapping 2, wrapping 2, wrapping 2. Okay, that was the end of row 1. Going to the end of row 2. started row 3, regular knit. Row 4, also regular knit, making sure no tucked stitches. All right, back to row 1. Okay, so actually what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to put these flatbed knitting machine weights on there. All we're going to do is just clip them on here. You can get these from Amazon. They are truly, truly amazing if you get some drop stitches. We're going to put them on 4 different places. You don't have to use these. You can use chip clips. You can use whatever you have at home. However, these do help out. I did clamp my table, my machine to my table so I can go a little bit faster. There we go. Okay, that is row 1. We're starting row 2. There we go. We're wrapping 2. This is how I normally do it. Wrapping 2, wrapping 2, all the way around. Wrapping 2. Those knitting machine weights really do help, especially for tuck stitches. It actually pulls the yarn down so that way you don't have to worry about any tuck stitches. All right, so that is this is the start of row 3. We're doing just our regular normal knitting, making sure we watch for drop stitches, our tuck stitches. All right, start of 4. All right, we're coming back up to that 4-row repeat. I want to make sure how many I've done, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far I've done 5 sets. For this one I'm going to do 8. So we're wrapping 2 all the way around. Wrapping 2, wrapping 2, wrapping 2. I'm going to go a little bit faster. And move my thing back up a little bit higher. It will not hurt the yarn. There we go. Grab that last one. All right, so that's row 1 complete. Start on row 2. Wrapping 2, wrapping 2, wrapping 2. Last row of row 2, starting on row 3, put it in our feeder, and then we are going to complete 2 complete rows for row 3 and 4 of the 4-row repeat. Okay, 3 and now 4. Starting one more time. Wrap 2, row 1, This is row 1, wrapping 2 all the way around. And you guys, I am going to go a little bit faster for the video purposes. Okay, that's row 1. We're going row 2. Okay, row 3 and 4 is going to be regular knitting. Making sure we don't have any tucked or drop stitches. That's row 3, and now row 4. Once again, I'm going to have to move up my knitting machine weights. Okay, and I decided to do one more set of these, one more set, just to make it a little shorter brim. So we're going to do, this is be our last set. This should be set 8. Okay, that was row 1, starting row 2. Put our yarn in our feeder. We're going to be starting row 3. I just want to double check on my count just to make sure I have everything correct. So we did 1 set, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is 7 sets. This is row 3 of the 4-row repeat and row 4 of the 4-row repeat. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go until my counter says row, let me show you guys. Probably is not going to show it right here, but this one says row 38, so we're going to start 39. I'm going to keep it the way it is right now, and what we're going to do is we're just going to continue going all the way to row 58. I'm going to remove my knitting machine weights. I do not longer need them. Okay, so we got to 58. We're starting on 59. What I want to do is I want to do my color change. So as you guys can see, I cut my yarn. I'm going to leave it out on the side. I'm going to grab my new working yarn, which is going to be white. Oh, apologize. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the feeder. Close the feeder. I'm going to put it underneath that very first black pin. Grab my 2 yarns. And I'm going to seat it down so I got 2 pins down. And then I'm going to do a double knot. We're going to tie it underneath that little lip right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up the hat in white. And we're going to go to row 98. Going to roll this up. All right, so we completed 98 rows. What I'm going to do is cast off. Cast off like you normally would. However, this is the way I do it. I'm a little bit different when it comes to casting off, and I know that. This is just how I learned. So I'm going to get on my left side so I can use my right hand. What we're going to do is we're going to put on the darning needle right here. And then we are just going to feed it through. So if you guys can see, this is where my last one comes out. So what I want to do is grab that next one. And as you guys can see, I put my fingers down on the next 2 stitches. And all we're doing is grabbing them up and threading them through. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to go closer. As you guys can see, every time I pick up a stitch, I move my fingers. And if you get a little bit more gutsy, you're going to go and do a couple more, little at a time. And we're going to, there we go. And I'm just going to go a little bit faster for time-saving purposes. Making sure when you thread it through, there is no knotting. But as you guys can see, every time I pick one up, I move my fingers over. This has definitely taken a lot of practice. Okay. All right, so when you get done, what we're going to do is just stretch your whole work. Give it a good stretch. And right where we did the color change, we're going to secure those knots. So all you're going to do is just tie it, just tighten it ever so slightly. And then what we're going to do is just cut off the excess, usually to an inch and a half. We'll put this on the side. And then what I like to do, I like to go in through the middle. Start your cinching on the top of the hat for the outer side of the hat. Get it nice and cinched. As you guys see, it's folding up right here. We're just going to make sure that nothing rolls into itself. And cinch it a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is grab the tails and pull it through. This is how I like to do my hats. I like to do the knot in the inside instead of the outside. And we're going to finish completing our cinch, making sure nothing is folding into itself. Good, nice pull. Don't pull too hard because you can break that. I have done that many, many times before. And what we're going to do is cinch the outside, or the white side. Do the same thing, and then what you want to do is just kind of pull them towards each other so they're really close and they match up. Tighten it as we go. I'm going to cut these tails just a little bit shorter just to make it a little bit easier to work with. And then what we're going to do is tie it. I usually do a surgeon's knot on the first one. Like I said, don't pull too tight. It can break your yarn, and there's no fixing it. All right, give it a knot 3 times. Then what I'm going to do is to put my darning needle on, and then I'm going to tuck those tails in the inside of the double layer hat. You don't need to do a lot. I'm just going to tuck it in a little bit, and then I'm going to cut off the excess. That way you don't have tails sticking out the outside. There we go. And I'm going to fold it, and then also give it a good stretch. Here we are. So you can either wear the hat like this with this on the outside, or everybody's waiting for that inside. Give that a good stretch. And there you go. You see you have the peekaboo effect. So also with this pattern, I have done an ear warmer. This was made on a 32 pin central. What I did is start out with 10 rows of regular knit. This is the same exact pattern. It is that 4-row repeat, wrap 2 pins all the way around, and then knit 2 rows. So wrap 2 for 2 complete rows, then knit 2, and then here is my hat right here. I did this in pink, hot pink, and I put a pom-pom on it, and it looks absolutely adorable, especially with that peekaboo effect. I hope this helped. Thank you guys so much for watching, and can't wait to see everybody's work.